This is a template that's immensely useful for any startup. So it's been created by two guys, Andrea Ratzenberger and Thomas Kessler. I think they are from Switzerland. So first of all, this is available at Gumroad. You can download it. You can even sneak download it for free. I strongly advise you to give the guys some credit and also, of course, hook up with them because this is good. So why is it good? Because when we are looking at it, first you're in getting started, then you're starting to get into problem solution fit, then you're going into minimum viable product market fit, and so on. So this is really good, giving you a clear indication where you are in the process. First, you want to, of course, exit readiness, a category leader, scale up. This is when you are a global startup. Okay, so then you look at the different dimensions of the startup. So first of all, you have the need dimension. That is the concrete, clear need for a customer to buy your service to solve a problem. Super important. Then you have the marketplace. How big is this market? How many people are there willing to pay X amount for your service? The technology that you're going to deliver this solution with, the value for the potential customer, how much is it worth solving this problem? Do you have a scalable business model? Yeah, that's of course extremely important. Like we all know that if you choose the wrong business model, you have trouble both like delivering on value, but also scaling and getting the cash flow cycle going. What is your go-to market? Like how are you reaching these customers that have this problem, that want to pay this money? Do you have the people in your team to do this? And then data and metrics, of course, like you want to have the revenue and the other growth metrics to prove that you're actually right to an investor and yourself. Remember, you are the primary investor in your startup. I always keep reminding myself and other people about this because you are the investor, right? Then the other they are follow along investors, but you are the primary investor in your startup. So operations, how are you running this? This is super important because a lot of productivity, like your ability to reach milestones, are in this dimension. And then the exit strategy that you're focusing on. And my short comment on exit strategy is like you should build as if you would never exit. That often puts you in the situation of actually having the possibility to do an exit. Now, let that sink in. It's not so easy to remember this all the time, but it's a good one to have in the back of your mind. I will scale this a bit. So, because if we now lay the dimension of community on top of this, because community solves so many of these problems. So first of all, I strongly encourage you to download this. I say it again, so you can relate anything in your startup to this overview, but I would also then layer in the community dimension because it solves a lot of these boxes and at very low cost. So first of all, if you look at the need dimension or the need category of the startup, we all know that having a lot of discussions with early adopters will game change your community. And here it says, team has gained deep understanding of their target customers' pains, job to be done, and desired outcomes by talking to customers. Yeah, exactly. And this is like the get out of the building thing and all that you hear in the literature. But this is what you can do in the community. You can befriend people, you can talk about your vision, you can align your vision with what your customer actually thinks about this problem. This is like having a community up is like creating a living room where people can come in and discuss your startup, like your solution. So that's like a first thing that's very important, that community solves this one. Okay, then like marketplace, like what are the legal, technical, regulatory things you need to overcome, the total addressable market. This is also something you get in the community, because when you're starting to talk to people, you understand how big the problem is. And often you understand how wrong the competitors are addressing the market. Like I'm like in one of the community growth secrets startups we are working with at the moment, it has become totally obvious that the competition is way off when it comes to the need dimension. They are not addressing the need, and the market is huge. So that came through the community, working with the community. And then you come to technology. You often see that the technology that you need to build, the specification changes rapidly when you start to work with community. This might scare off like the CTO or a very stubborn founder. You need to be stubborn to be a founder, but this is game changing. If you're talking to the customer early, the technology specification will change radically. You will be bang on target. And these conversations you can have within the community. The value that you are defining for your customer also becomes very clear in the community. And the business model that you're seeing here in the definition, like early, you will also get ideas from this. I'll give you one example. 2 weeks ago, I was reminded by one of our members in our customer community, and she said to me, you know what, you need to really think about these donations. And don't forget, because we are working with payments and sustainable, how do you get your community to be sustainable? So I got that from her, and I immediately saw how it impacted our business model. So you can have these discussions very upfront, because after all, business model is nothing that is sterile, and it has to resonate with your customer, with the person making the buying decision. If it resonates with the customer, then it's dynamite. So it's very interesting to have discussions about the business model within your customer community. Then go to market. So how are you going to reach the market? It's also interesting in the community, because if you have people in the community, you needn't advertise on Facebook, which by the way doesn't really work nowadays. Since 1 year it doesn't work. You need to get the email, and you need to get them inside the community. Once you have them there, the community becomes the funnel. So you move from audience creation, which is hard work, but when you have them in the community, they can trust you, they can be vested in what you're doing, they can create word of mouth, they can talk to you about pricing. This is really like the garden where you raise your first seeds of customer relations. Another thing is that community, and this is another dimension that is really, it's tough. In your startup team, you will have people that talk a lot in meetings and they don't deliver. Okay, hard truth. This is the truth. Like in every startup team, or in any other project for that matter, there are these people, and you don't want them. Hard fact. You don't want them. You will see immediately in your community if they are doing things. Are they logged in? Are they participating in the chats, in the comments? What's the vibe of their interaction with the customer? Now, if you want to be customer obsessed, which you want to be, people should be there. There are, of course, like all kinds of things. You might have a very introvert coder, for example, that doesn't want to be in the community. And sometimes you need to shield some people from the community, because you cannot have them tug and tear in a coder, for example. But you will see that people in the community, how your startup team engages in the community, is a litmus test for you to have that serious conversation, bring people back into talking to the customer. If they are unwilling to talk to the customer, unwilling to take action inside the community, then maybe the timing isn't right, and then early. So for people, it's really interesting to see that how the community is really interesting if you want to vet your team. Or are they willing to take this journey with you and the community? Data and metrics, yeah, no revenue yet at this stage, like when you're pre-seed maybe, but you will get to revenue way earlier. Another thing is there are now a lot of revenue models tied to community that can bring revenue to your startup, first revenue. Second, anchoring a community early with an audience becoming members gives you leverage. So the leverage you're gaining is like you're actually talking to a set of customers, right? You're talking to a set of customers that is attractive. So you will have a way easier path of being taken seriously by partners in the industry that might have complementary offers. And then when you have their attention, you have synergies. And these synergies are very important for you as a startup. Yeah, operations. You can funnel a lot of your go-to-market and growth, but also you can start operating not necessarily on the platform you choose. Sometimes that's okay, but you can start to operate as a community. Your company, your operations can be community driven. That is an immense power for your startup to have this platform where people can collaborate. As for exit strategy, any startup that does a community is at least a 10x in valuation. Now let that sink in. Look at all the data on the different players in your industry. If you're a marketplace, Airbnb had a 27.5 valuation advantage over Vrbo, who didn't go into community. And you just need to, you can go into these services now and look at how does it feel to be inside of Vrbo's solution and how does it feel to be inside of Airbnb solution. I would choose Airbnb over Vrbo any day because it's so much warmer and it's human because they use community. Peloton had, I think it's 90 times higher valuation than their nearest competitor for fitness bikes. And the list goes on and on, because if you look at Lemlist, Notion, SaaS, other SaaS players that use community, that is a very fast growth lever for these companies. If you look at enterprise, like Salesforce, they have built their entire go-to-market, which is damn hard when it comes to a enterprise solution. They have built it all on community. So I think this massively useful spreadsheet, regardless of community, is something I urge you to download from these guys at Gumroad. I think that it's immensely useful also to use this as a benchmark, like what levers and what dimensions in building a startup can the community actually influence. So there is a community layer to be laid upon this, and as you have seen from this walkthrough, it's just game changing almost 100% of these dimensions. So hope this walkthrough, a bit chaotic Sunday morning, was okay for you, but I was very inspired actually by reading this. Okay, thanks.